Okay, we're starting with chapter 16, Divine and Demoniac Natures. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Abhayam Sattva Samshuddhir Gnana Yoga Vyavastitihi Danam Damascha Yagnascha Swadhyayastapachapam Ahimsa Satyam Akrodas Tyagashantir Paishunam Daya Bhuteshvalo Luptvam Madhavam Shira Chapalam Tejakshamadrati Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. Supreme Personality of Godhead said, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, fortitude, cleanliness, and freedom from envy and from passion for honor. These transcendental qualities of son of Bharata belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. This is an eye-opener for people who think they are good. Somebody who thinks they are good should be really possessing all these qualities. So Prabhupada has beautifully described what these qualities mean, because some of them might also be unclear to people. They might have their own definitions of what fearlessness is, etc. So Prabhupada has very beautifully described all these qualities here. Okay. Purport. In the beginning of the 15th chapter, the banyan tree of this material world was explained. The extra roots coming out of it were compared to the activities of the living entities, some auspicious, some inauspicious. In the 9th chapter also, the devas are godly and the asuras, the ungodly or demons, were explained. Now, according to Vedic rites, activities in the mode of goodness are considered auspicious for progress on the path of liberation. And such activities are known as Daivi Prakriti, mode of goodness, transcendental by nature. Transcendental by nature meaning that if it is completely pure and connected to Krishna, then it is transcendental. Otherwise, it is favorable to transcendence, meaning it will help one come to transcendence. Those who are situated in the transcendental nature make progress on the path of liberation. For those who are acting in the mode of passion and ignorance, on the other hand, there is no possibility of liberation. Either they will have to remain in material world as human beings, or they will descend among the species of animals or even lower life forms. In the 16th chapter, the Lord explains both the transcendental nature and its attendant qualities, and the demoniac nature and its qualities. So here, these qualities are called Daivi, divine. Daivi also, so Prabhupada has translated it as transcendental. So this is Daivi Prakriti, and then the other one will be Asuri Prakriti. Asuri Prakriti. Yeah, not Asuri, Asuri Prakriti. So this Daivi Prakriti is conducive for progress on the path of liberation, and the qualities of goodness, passion and ignorance, there's no question of liberation. So that is the first point here being made. So those who are intended on this path, those who want to, we're not interested in liberation, but we are trying to go beyond that. So which means that these qualities are absolutely important, critical for one to develop, before which one cannot think of achieving perfection. Now, of course, it is said that by the just the practice of bhakti, sarvair gunes tatra samarati samasate suraha, all these good qualities develop in a person, which is correct. But for that, the practice of bhakti also has to be proper, meaning as per vidhi and tivra bhakti, then these qualities will develop. Otherwise, it will develop when we reach that stage, meaning it will take its own time. Now, but it's also good to depend on Krishna and endeavor to develop some of these qualities, as in some of these might be very critical for us, might actually become might block our bhakti. So for example, here non-violence. So this jiva himsa, as in this is ahimsa. If there is jiva himsa, then it becomes like a jiva aparad. It becomes a blocker. We cannot make progress in bhakti. So then we might have to try to overcome some of these, but not by our own effort, by being dependent on Krishna. So the difference between a normal person trying to develop these qualities and us is twofold. One is we are also doing a supportive, or we are also practicing doing a sadhana which will anyway naturally develop these qualities over a period of time, which means that it becomes more favorable it is more favorable to develop these qualities because we are practicing sadhana bhakti, or it is easier to develop these qualities. Second thing is we don't depend on our ability. We depend on the mercy of Krishna. So these two actually distinguish our efforts from the efforts of normal people who try to develop some of these qualities. And we know that, New Year resolutions, etc., that is all that attempt to develop some godly qualities. But we have seen from past experience that it just doesn't work. Okay. The word abhijatasya in reference to one born of transcendental qualities or godly tendencies is very significant. Abhijatasya, born with these qualities. Prabhupada will talk about Garbhadhana here. To beget a child in a godly atmosphere is known in the Vedic scriptures as Garbhadhana Samskara. If the parents want a child in the godly qualities, they should follow the 10 principles recommended for social life of the human being. So samskaras, basically. 10 principles is 10 samskaras. In Bhagavad Gita, we have studied also before that sex life for getting a good child is Krishna himself. Sex life is not condemned, provided the process is used in Krishna consciousness. Now, however, this is very easier said than done. So one has to be really top conscious, Krishna conscious, to be able to even adopt this process nicely. So much of immersion has to happen in chanting Hare Krishna that one can transcend the natural animalistic urge. Right? So it's a very tall order, but even to whatever extent we are able to follow this process, those seeking children, the children are naturally, we all of us have seen this, right? Devotees' children are generally so sattvic. So this is very important. Those who are in Krishna consciousness at least should not beget children like cats and dogs. Prabhupada is saying at least, but should beget them so that they may become Krishna conscious after birth. So which means that Garbhadhana Samskara is absolutely important. So if I have a request with all of you, if you are visiting anybody, marriage, functions, etc., please give them a copy of this book, Garbhadhana Samskara. It's written by Bharat Chandra Prabhu. It is a very important book. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it in various places, and gift it, right? Because this is not just for devotees. In fact, the more we can do this in the world outside, the more the society will become saner, right? And in fact, they'll become devotees eventually. At least if not the immediate generation, then generation after. That should be the advantage of children born of a father and mother absorbed in Krishna consciousness. So this is what it is, right? Absorption. It's not about, okay, I did my 16 rounds, okay. It's not Garbhadhana Samskara. We're doing 16 rounds and we should be doing 64 rounds and more on the recommended day. Right? So anyway, there's a lot of Shastra Vidhis behind time, etc., etc. Those things are there. But it's a beautiful science, it just works. The social institution known as Varnashrama Dharma, the institution dividing society into basically Varna and Ashrama, is not meant to divide human society according to birth. Such divisions are in terms of educational qualifications. They are to keep the society in a state of peace and prosperity. The qualities mentioned herein are explained as transcendental qualities meant for making a person progress in spiritual understanding so that he can get liberated from the material world. So these are that way beyond just qualities of a Brahmana, not just Sattva Guna. These are transcendental qualities. So it helps one make spiritual progress. In the Varnashrama institution, the sannyasi or the person in the renounced order is considered to be the head of the spiritual master of all status and orders. A Brahmana is considered to be spiritual master of the other three sections, namely Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. But a sannyasi who is on top of the institution is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmanas also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be fearlessness. So, Prabhupada is now introducing the first quality, fearlessness. It is for Brahmana, it is for sannyasis. Because sannyasi has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He has simply to depend on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one thinks after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. Now, while, predominantly this is for sannyasis, but it's also for grihasthas, right? Because we have to depend on Krishna like this. And just, Bhakti Vinod Thakur says that Sharanagati means living in this mode and just considering ourselves as servants in our house. It is Krishna's house, we are all servants. Even for that, this mode of complete dependence on Krishna is required. After I leave we should not accept that. One must be fully convinced that Krishna is in his localized aspect, as Paramatma is always within, that he is seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. One must thus have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of the soul surrendered. I shall never be alone, one should think. Even if I live in the darkest regions of a forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna and he will give me all protection. And that conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. See, and this is just the state of faith of an individual. If somebody might ask, okay, is there proof? How can I believe? Can I trust these words? That means that it's just a lack of faith. And Krishna says, if you trust him, he will protect you. If you doubt him, then he will let your doubt flourish. Right? So it's like that. So, and this is something that it took me a long time to understand, that it's not about tattva, it is about shraddha, it's about faith. It's not about how much knowledge we have acquired about Krishna. It's about how much faith we have in Krishna. There's a beauty about Krishna consciousness, right? It's not about knowledge. Right? Knowledge can help us, move in the direction, but what is required is just faith in Krishna. And of course, it should be based on a proper understanding, but I was saying more like, not like some Pandita only can do bhakti, right? Even ordinary people like us can do bhakti if we have the faith. This state of mind is necessary for a person in the renounced order of life. Then he has to purify his existence. So this again, next purification of one's existence, that is also applicable to sannyasi, but it's also applicable for grihastha. Actually, Prabhupada subsequently says it's also applicable. There are so many rules and regulations to be followed in the renounced order. Most important of all, sannyasi is strictly forbidden to have any intimate relationship with a woman. He is even forbidden to talk with a woman in a secluded place. Lord Chaitanya was an ideal sannyasi, and when he was at Puri, his feminine devotees could not even come near to offer their respects. They are advised to bow down from a distant place. This is not a sign of hatred for women as a class, but it is stricture imposed on the sannyasi not to have close connections with women. One has to follow the rules and regulations of a particular status of life in order to purify his existence. So, according to a particular status of life, so even for grihasthas, apart from his own wife, man should be as distant as a sannyasi with other women. So, Zolnil Bhakti Vikas Swami has written this book on Brahmacharya, which is a must read for everybody. For a sannyasi, intimate relations with women and possession of wealth for sense gratification are strictly forbidden. And a grihastha who follows this is a strict grihastha. He is like paka, who doesn't possess wealth for sense gratification, who has strict relations. The ideal sannyasi was Lord Chaitanya himself, and we can learn from his life, and he was very strict in regards to women. Although he is considered to be the most liberal incarnation of Godhead, accepting the most fallen conditioned souls, he strictly followed the rules and regulations of the sannyasa order of life in connection with association with women. One of his personal associates, named Chota Haridas, was associated with Lord Chaitanya along with his other confidential personal associates. But somehow or other, this Chota Haridas looked lustily on a young woman, and Lord Chaitanya was so strict that he at once rejected him from the society of his personal associates. So this is not about doing anything gross. This is even just looking lustily. Lord Chaitanya said, for a sannyasi or anyone who is aspiring to get out of the clutches of material nature and try to elevate himself to the spiritual nature and go back home, back to Godhead, for him, looking toward material possessions and women for sense gratification, not even enjoying them, but just looking toward them with such a propensity is so condemned that he had better commit suicide before experiencing such illicit desires. Of course, this is a very strict stricture for sannyasi. But again, it's applicable not to the extent of commit suicide, but it is still very important for grihasthas as well. So these are the process for purification. Next item is Gnana Yoga Vyavastitihi, being engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. Sannyasi again. Sannyasi life is meant for distributing knowledge to the householders and others who have forgotten their real life of spiritual advancement. A sannyasi is supposed to beg from door to door for his livelihood, but this does not mean that he is a beggar. Humility is also one of the qualifications of a transcendentally situated person. And out of sheer humility, the sannyasi goes from door to door, not exactly for the purpose of begging, but to see the householders and awaken them to Krishna consciousness. This is the duty of a sannyasi. If he is actually advanced and so ordered by his spiritual master, this is important, ordered by spiritual master, then he should preach Krishna consciousness with logic and understanding. And if one is not so advanced, he should not accept the renounced order of life. But even if one has accepted the renounced order of life without sufficient knowledge, he should engage himself fully in hearing from a bona fide spiritual master to cultivate knowledge. A sannyasi or one in the renounced order of life must be situated in fearlessness, purity, and knowledge. So this is all these three qualities. First three qualities are for sannyasis: fearlessness, purity of one's existence, and spiritual knowledge, cultivation of knowledge. Next item is for grihasthas, dana, charity. The householder should earn a livelihood by an honorable means and spend 50% of their income to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. We can end the class with this. 50% of our income. But then we give so many reasons to not do this. But this is standard. Thus, a householder should give in charity to institutional societies that are engaged in that way. Charity should be given to the right receiver. There are different kinds of charity, as will be explained later on. Charity in goodness, passion, ignorance. Charity in the mode of goodness is recommended by the scriptures, but charity in the modes of passion and ignorance is not recommended because it is simply a waste of money. Charity should be given only to propagate Krishna consciousness all over the world. That is the charity in the mode of goodness. This must be done. Then as far as Dhamma, self-control is concerned, it is not only meant for other orders of religious society, but is especially meant for householder. Although he has a wife, a householder should not use his senses for sex life unnecessarily. There are restrictions for the householders even in sex life, which should only be engaged in for propagation of children. If it does not require children, he should not enjoy sex life with his wife. Modern society enjoys sex life with contraceptive methods or more abominable methods to avoid the responsibility of children. This is not in the transcendental quality, but is demoniac. If anyone, even if he is a householder, wants to make progress in spiritual life, he must control his sex life and should not beget a child without the purpose of serving Krishna. If he is able to beget children who will be in Krishna consciousness, one can produce hundreds of children. But without this capacity, one should not indulge only for sense pleasure. This is also many devotees in ISKCON, unfortunately. One of the regulative principles, this is broken. So it becomes very difficult to make progress. It's very important. Sacrifice is another item for householders. Sacrifices require a large amount of money. Those in the other orders of life, Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, have no money. They live by begging. So performance of different types of sacrifice is meant for the householders. They should perform Agnihotra sacrifices as enjoined in the Vedic literature. But such sacrifices at the present moment are very expensive, and it is not possible for any householder to perform them. The best sacrifice recommended is Sankirtana Yagna. Sankirtana Yagna, chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the best and most inexpensive sacrifice. Everyone can adopt it and derive benefit. So these three items, charity, sense control, performance, sacrifice, are meant for householder. Next, Swadhyaya, for brahmacharis, they have no connection with women. They should live a life of celibacy, engage the mind in study of Vedic literature. This is Swadhyaya. Then tapas, austerity. This is meant for retired life, Vanaprastha. One should not remain a householder throughout his whole life. You must always remember that there are 4 divisions of life: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. So after Grihastha, householder life, one should retire. This is another thing that devotees should mandatorily do. Put a cutoff time for exiting Grihastha life, which means material, giving up or finishing off material responsibilities. Not giving up, finishing off. So whatever responsibilities we have, we should try to finish off quickly and then move to Vanaprastha. If one lives for 100 years, he should spend 25 years in Brahmacharya, 25 in Grihastha, 25 in Vanaprastha, 25 in Sannyasa. These are the regulations of Vedic religious discipline. A man retired from household life must practice austerities of mind, body, mind, and tongue. That is tapasya. The entire Varnashrama dharma is meant for tapasya. Without tapasya or austerity, no human being can get liberation. Our tapasya is getting up early in the morning, chanting 16 rounds, not eating anything apart from prasadam, reading for Prabhupada's books for at least 1 hour. This is tapasya. The theory that there is no need of austerity in life, that one can go on speculating and everything will be nice, is recommended neither in the Vedic literature nor in Bhagavad Gita. Today also we see that, when we talk about Tivra Bhakti, people are like, go crazy. They say, why you are so strict? Why can't you just take it easy? No, because this is what Shastra is saying. Tapasya is required. Such theories are manufactured by show bottle spiritualists who are trying to gather more followers. If there are restrictions, rules, and regulations, people will not become attracted. This we have seen in our preaching efforts. There are restrictions, people don't come. We end up with, single digit, 2-digit kind of, preaching efforts. But then there are so many other efforts where there are hundreds of people coming. And we know the reason. Those who want followers in the name of religion just to have a show only, don't restrict the lives of their students, not their own lives. But that method is not approved by the Vedas. As far as the Brahminical quality of simplicity, okay, just on this point about, and this is about approach to preaching as well, right? So Prabhupada always encouraged outreach. He didn't put any restriction on outreach. He said you can get people, however, but bring him to the standard. So apart from having outreach program, have a program to cultivate and help those people who come to proper standards, right standards, not just do outreach and then forget about them, and they'll poor things, they don't know what to do, what not to do, and that's not correct. As far as the Brahminical quality of simplicity is concerned, not only should a particular order of life follow the principle, but every member. One should be very simple and straightforward. Simple means, simplicity again in all aspects, right? Like kaya vacha manasa. Because sometimes people say something, they mean something else. Then some people want to dress very, grandly. And some people want to speak in a very complicated way, not able to, we can't understand. These things are not required. Devotee should be simple, straightforward. Whatever is there, inside, outside should be same. There shouldn't be any difference. Ahimsa. Ahimsa means not arresting the progressive life of any living entity. One should not think that since the spirit spark is never killed, even after killing the body, there is no harm in killing animals for sense gratification. People are now addicted to eating animals in spite of having an ample supply of grains, fruits, and milk. There is no necessity for animal killing. This injunction is for everyone. When there is no alternative, one may kill an animal, but it should be offered in sacrifice. At any rate, when there is an ample food supply for humanity, persons who are desiring to make advancement in spiritual realization should not commit violence to animals. Real ahimsa means not checking anyone's progressive life, not just animals, even humans. The animals are also making progress in their evolutionary life by transmigrating from one category of animal life to another. If a particular animal is killed, then his progress is checked. If an animal is staying in a particular body for so many days or so many years and is untimely killed means not natural death for that animal. Then he has to come back again in that form of life to complete the remaining days in order to be promoted to another species of life. So that progress should not be checked simply to satisfy one's palate. Of course, then also there is ahimsa towards human beings. That means we have to preach. We have to this is the other way of looking at it. We have to enable people's spiritual progress, right? One is not check. At the same time, we should try to enable. Satyam, the word means that one should not distort the truth for some personal interest. So we should be very clear, not for personal interest, but for Krishna's interest, truth can be distorted. That doesn't become false. In Vedic literature, there are some difficult passages, but the meaning or the purpose should be learned from a bona fide spiritual master. That is the purpose for understanding the Vedas. Shruti means that one should hear from authority. One should not construe some interpretation for his own personal interest. And there are so many commentaries on Bhagavad Gita that misinterpret the original text. The real import of the words should be presented, and that should be learned from bona fide spiritual master. So one is, Prabhupada here is saying, not for personal interest means mainly he is talking about how people produce they present spiritual knowledge for personal interest and they distort the truth. Akrodha means to check anger. That is a very nice definition. Even if there is provocation, one should be tolerant. That is the meaning of tolerance. Many times I've seen myself also do this, saying that, when there is, anyway, there is no reason to get provoked, we will be tolerant. And when things provoke us, we become intolerant. And we say, see, you said that is why I became angry. Otherwise, I'm normally not angry at all. But the whole point is, normally, there's no need to be angry. We won't be angry. When there's provocation, normal behavior is to become angry. Now, one who is self-controlled will control that anger even when provoked. That is the important part. For once one becomes angry, his whole body becomes polluted. Anger is a product of the mode of passion and lust. So one who is transcendently situated should check himself from anger. Kama, Krodha, Lobha. Apaishunam means that one should not find fault with others or correct them unnecessarily. So this is also very important. Find fault or correct them unnecessarily. So if there is an intent and that intent is not some self-centered or to boost our own ego, or if it's real genuine interest, then one can try to correct. But of course, then there is etiquette and all that has to be followed in Vaishnava society. But nowadays people think that everything is Vaishnava aparadh, which is also not true. So we have to be clear. Actually, in the name of Vaishnava aparadh, we allow anybody to do anything, which is actually disservice to Prabhupada's movement. So we should try to correct with a good intent, and of course we should know how to approach situations, whom to approach, etc., etc. Of course, to call a thief is not fault finding, but to call an honest person a thief is very much offensive for one who is making advancement in spiritual life. Free means that one should be very modest and must not perform some act which is abominable Okay. So modest means that one should not be doing something which is abominable. Achapalam, determination, means that one should not be agitated or frustrated in some attempt. There may be failure in some attempt, but one should not be sorry for that. We should make progress with patience and determination. Achapalam. Tejas is meant for Kshatriyas. They should always be very strong and be able to give protection to the weak. They should not pose themselves as non-violent. If violence is required, they must exhibit it. But a person who is able to curb down his enemy may, under certain conditions, show forgiveness. He may excuse minor offenses. Shaucham, cleanliness, not only in mind and body, but in one's dealings also. Especially meant for Vaishyas. They who should not deal in black market. Natimanita, not expecting honor, applies to Shudras, worker class, which are considered according to Vedic injunctions to be the lowest of the four classes. They should not be puffed up with unnecessary prestige of honor and should remain in their own status. Today's world, most of them are Shudras and nobody follows this, right? Everybody wants honor. It is a duty of Shudras to offer respect to the higher class for the upkeep of the social order. And for practicing Vaishnavas, we should always be Natiman, Namani Namana. All these 26 qualifications mentioned are transcendental qualities. They should be cultivated according to the different statuses of social and occupational order. The purport is that even though material conditions are miserable, if these qualities are developed by practice, Prabhupada is saying by practice, by all classes of men, then gradually it is possible to raise to the highest platform of transcendental realization. So we have to try and practice this. Not that we wait for one fine day when it will just manifest in us. So this is important. Okay, so we'll stop there for today. Any questions anybody has? A lot of very important qualities that one has to develop. So one should meditate on these qualities again and again. And see, normally the way at least I do is whenever I read anything like this for personal application, I identify gaps, where I stand and what is expected, what is standard behavior. And then I make a note of these things and then introspect also, saying what aspects I'm not meeting the standard and how do I put that into practice. So reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam mean like bedtime story, right? Like just read and sleep over it. We should actually really try and implement them. Vijnana, we should try to convert them to Vijnana. So, and that is why reading is important, because if you hear in a class, how much can we meditate upon these qualities? Maybe, one or two qualities might stand out for us, right, based on where we stand in terms of our spiritual sadhana. But when we read it, then all 26 qualities we can meditate, right, and see what is relevant, to what extent, etc., etc. So please read this purport again and figure out, what is lacking and how to bring it into practice. Okay. Anybody has any questions? We can try to answer. Otherwise, we can close it. No questions? Okay. Then we'll end for today. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'm disconnecting. Total silence.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.